Please be sure to subscribe to the Bill Houston Podcast on YouTube and donate generously to support my work.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
5, 6, 7, 8, Israel is a terror state.
5, 6, 7, 8, Israel is a terror state.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
1, 2, 3, 4, occupation no more.
Tens of thousands of Palestinians living under a suffocating Israeli blockade in Gaza organized a massive peaceful march on the border with Israel, and they were met with a sea of bullets.
My name is Ariel Gold. I am the National Co-Director for Code Pink, Women for Peace.
Just give me a little quick update about the current situation
Sure.
that is motivating this emergency rally today.
So, since the election of Donald Trump, Israel has taken the Trump presidency as a green light to accelerate their policies of displacement and settlement growth and land theft.
I speak to you today as a lifelong supporter and true friend of Israel. I'm a newcomer to politics, but not to backing the Jewish state.
And this really culminated in December with the announcement of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
I've studied this issue in great detail, I would say actually greater by far than anybody else. Believe me. Oh, believe me.
And Palestinians from the West Bank to Gaza were just horrified at this and said enough is enough. Just now, the civil society in Gaza said we are going to come out entirely nonviolently and engage in 45 days of nonviolent marches and sit-ins and cultural events and demand our right under international law, under UN Resolution 194, for the right of refugees to return to their homes. Around 80% of the population of Gaza is refugees from 1948, when they were displaced from their homes for the founding of the State of Israel. So those 45 days of protest began yesterday, with Palestinians marching to the Gaza border fence and putting up tents and engaging in what is, it comes in a long line of peaceful protest. But prior to that, the Israeli military had already authorized the use of deadly force against this protest that had been very, very clear that it was nonviolent.
So far, at least 15 Palestinians have been killed, and perhaps around 1,000 have been injured. And the Israeli soldiers, the Israeli military, have been directed to contain this demonstration, and they've been given orders of shoot to kill.
The Catholic Church in Ramallah has led a candle-lit protest against the latest violence in Gaza between Israel and Palestinians. Their traditional Palm Sunday march was cancelled in favour of the show of solidarity after the deaths of 15 Palestinians on Friday. Meanwhile, Israel's Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman has roundly rejected calls by the United Nations and the European Union for an inquiry into the bloodiest clashes in years. In the Good Friday conflict, Israeli troops fired on crowds of stone throwers after the degeneration of what Hamas says was planned as a peaceful sit-in. Israel has accused the group of using demonstrations to camouflage terror.
Palestinians are living in an area where they have rancid water. They have virtually no potable water, no drinkable water. Their hospitals have been destroyed. They have a blockade relative to medical supplies, food. The Israelis have calculated how many calories a day minimum would keep these folks alive. and that's all that they permit. So it's just incredible. And of course, there's constant drones flying around your home. They keep an eye on everything. So the Palestinians are captive.
A tense calm descended on the border on Sunday. But at this hospital in Gaza, doctors say they're running out of medicine and other supplies. 12-year-old Bashar was at the border fence when he was hit by gunfire.
I was just standing there when I felt something hit my leg and it pushed me to the ground.
Hundreds of demonstrators ignored calls by protest organisers and by the Israeli military to stay away from the frontier. The Israeli military says some of those who were shot had fired at soldiers and accused Hamas of, quote, cynically exploiting women and children by sending them to the fence. A Hamas spokesman has called those allegations lies, aimed at justifying the massacres.
So it's been 70 years since the State of Israel was founded on stolen Palestinian land. The founding of the State of Israel required the displacement of around 800,000 refugees. And these Palestinian refugees have been scattered around the world. Many of them were pushed into Gaza, and where now around 80% of the population in Gaza is refugees. Well, the UN passed a resolution, Resolution 194, saying that Palestinian refugees have the right to return to their homes and lands that they were displaced from. Israel continues to refuse to implement and to grant this right of return to refugees. And it's now coming up on 70 years. And during these 70 years, we have continuous and ongoing theft of land and displacement. Yesterday, as well as being the first night of Passover, which is about liberation. And as a Jew, I would say that it's not just about Jewish liberation, it's about liberation for all people.
I'm Jim Clune. I'm with Broome County Peace Action. I'm the president currently. I'm also a member of Broome County Veterans for Peace, and we've been doing a peace vigil here in front of the Binghamton Federal Building for 20 years, almost 20 years. We started in April of '99. I've been to this border where this conflict is happening right now, yesterday and today. All these Palestinians in Gaza marching for their lives. They're marching for being able to live on their own land. They're marching for survival. The UN officials have called the Gaza Strip the largest open-air prison in the world. What happens is that there's a few low-tech weapons that get thrown out of Gaza into Sderot, which is a settler town that we visited, and sometimes they hurt somebody, but usually they just land in a field in our duds. But what happens is that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, sends in massive amounts of high-tech weaponry and bombards Gaza. Gaza is a huge wreck now. I don't know how people survive there.
What would you say your objectives are for the rally today, and also for just in general? Are we trying to affect U.S. foreign policy here, or what are you asking for?
Well, I think what we're asking for are pretty much the same things that Martin Luther King asked for 50 years ago, and that is an end to poverty, an end to racism, an end to militarism. Yeah. Because those three issues there pretty much govern what the United States is about. Chuck Schumer, who's the senator from New York State, we have a sign here that says, Senator Schumer from New York or Tel Aviv, right? So he seems to be more concerned with the $10 million per day, that's over $3 billion per year, that go to Israel and helps Israel maintain their aggressive stance against the Palestinian people.
Is there any other nation that we provide that level of support to?
None.
What's the reason for that?
The reason for that is the Israeli lobbies are extremely powerful. AIPAC has bought the hearts, minds, and souls of many of our leaders. And of course our leaders then, for the campaign money that is contributed to them, they say, okay, whatever you guys want, we'll give you.
Now let me close by telling you about my name. As some of you know, my name is a Hebrew word. Schumer comes from the Hebrew word shomer, which means guardian. To you, I say this: that name was given to me for a reason. For as long as I live, for as long as I have the privilege of serving in the Senate from New York, I will unflinchingly, unstintingly, and with all of my strength be Shomer Yisrael, a guardian of Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, Am Yisrael Chai. In Israel and America, the Jewish nation lives now and forever. And forever.
They opened fire yesterday. 17 Palestinians were killed, including a 16-year-old girl, a young man who was shot in the back while running away, and over 700 people were injured from tear gas dropped by drones, from rubber bullets, and this live fire. This is unacceptable. And it is unacceptable for the U.S. to remain silent. It's unacceptable for our representatives in Congress to remain silent as this is happening, as the shooting of unarmed peaceful protesters is taking place. And some of the members of Congress, Democratic members, many of them members of the Progressive Caucus, just returned from a trip to Israel where they met and smiled and with Prime Minister Netanyahu. Representative Nancy Pelosi, our leader, she led this delegation. Representatives that participated included sworn progressives such as Jan Schakowsky and Raskin. And they, went there to talk about security. Well, where is security for Palestinians as snipers are preparing to shoot at peaceful protesters?
I would say that Israel is an apartheid state, and whether or not you call this genocide, if it's not, it's verging on it.
Israel crushed the historic protest with extreme violence, mowing down the unarmed protesters. More than 1,400 Palestinians were injured. The Israeli military deployed more than 100 snipers who shot 773 protesters with live ammunition. At least 16 Gazans were killed in the massacre. Israel's military later openly admitted that the massacre had been intentional and pre-planned. The IDF wrote on Twitter, quote, "Everything was accurate and measured, and we know where every bullet landed." Soon after, it deleted these tweets admitting responsibility. The demonstration, which was dubbed the Great Return March, had been organized for months in order to demand the right Palestinian refugees have under international law to return to their homes, which Israel ethnically cleansed in 1948. The protesters also condemned Israel's decade-long blockade of the Gaza Strip, which United Nations experts have explicitly said is illegal. Because of this smothering siege, 1.8 million Palestinians are trapped inside Gaza with little water, food, and electricity. Even the United Kingdom's conservative former Prime Minister David Cameron has described the Israeli-besieged Gaza Strip as a prison camp and open-air prison.
We are responsible for this. This is not a side issue for us. This is a matter of survival. This is a matter of human rights. I'm here to say that we need to uphold and respect and work for Palestinian human rights, just as in other times we say we support black lives.
Is Code Pink involved in any domestic issues? And if so, can you talk about them? Or?
Sure. Code Pink is a grassroots, women-led organization that opposes U.S. militarism. Our largest focus is U.S. foreign policy, so we often work on countries where weapons are being sold. We're trying to stop U.S. weapons sales to Saudi Arabia. We are supporting an end to U.S. financial aid, financial support for Israel, and so on. We also do support the domestic resistance that's going on here. We are big supporters of resistance, of an end to violence and militarization. We work to build local peace economies in communities such as here in Binghamton, so that people can pull out of and divest from the war economy. And our current new and largest campaign right now is divestment from the war economy. It's to divest from the 5 largest U.S. weapons companies. So Lockheed, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so we are calling on universities and institutions as well as individuals to pull their money out of companies that make a killing off of killing. These are companies that do not enrich and engage our local communities, but instead profit from death and destruction. We have been getting members of Congress to pledge not to take money from these companies as well as not take money from the NRA.
Let's say you're connecting right now with somebody that cares about this issue and wants to do something. What's your advice to them? What's the best thing they can do action-wise to affect some kind of positive change?
If you're Jewish, join Jewish Voice for Peace. If you're get into one of a peace and justice group in your local church or congregation.
Yeah.
All the usual things. If you think that voting will help, you can do that. I think that we're far more. It's far more important for us to be here in the street and talk to everybody. But every little bit helps, and don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. Do what you can, even if it's a small thing.
1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more.
1, 2.
Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in to the Bill Houston podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you appreciate my work and if you enjoy my work, I would appreciate if you could make a donation in any amount. $10, $20, even $100 if you can. No amount is too large or small. You can get there by going to tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Houston. That's tinyurl.com/donate to Bill Houston, HUSTON. And by the way, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And when you do, don't forget to click that little bell, and that way you'll be sure to get a notification whenever I post a new video. Thanks a lot. See you next time.